Welcome to the Quick Talk Podcast with Joshua Latimer, where we discuss business, life, family, faith, struggle, fire, pain, and ultimately winning.
It's time to take massive action. Look, I can't work harder on your life or business than you do. It's ultimately all on you.
You know, God created all the food the birds would ever need, but he doesn't put it in their nest. You've got to go get it.
10 out of 10 people die. So how about doing something today that actually matters while you still can? Hey everybody, welcome to the Quick Talk Podcast. Do you know that there is actually no such thing as magic unicorn fairy dust? I think I may have mentioned that, but I want to reiterate it. And last night, with a horrible Wi-Fi connection, I got all wound up and went on it's a powerful rant that's going to help you. It's going to encourage you to take responsibility for your life. It's going to encourage you to stop feeling sorry for yourself, to pivot your direction and your efforts back on the basic things, to start chopping wood, and to go make it happen. I hope you guys like this. This is the audio from a Facebook I did last night that I feel very strongly about, and I'm sure that it's going to help you. Oh my gosh, my internet is horrible. I live in the country. I want to tell you awesome things. And if this doesn't work, I'll just have to talk to you tomorrow. I'm sorry. Here's the deal. I just listened to something that inspired me greatly. Just because you file an LLC or open a DBA does not mean that you have a business. Just because you put out some advertisements does not mean that you're going to get customers or it's going to work. Just because you have a first attempt at anything doesn't mean that it's going to work. And look, my business journey has been riddled with pain and suffering, but here's the deal. I want to give you one example of something. This is applicable to all areas of your business. This is really good, okay? But let's talk about direct mail. People have all kinds of opinions about direct mail. Like, does it work? Does it not work? I don't know. Well, there's massive amounts of nuances and variables with direct mail, and the way you hire, the way that you lead, the way that you present and sell your packages, the way, every piece of your business, all the moving parts, all the things that work or do not work, there's little itty bitty micro calibrations that have to be made. So, you do not have to be a rocket scientist for this to work for you, but you do have to pay attention to the details that other people are not willing to pay attention to. Think about it like this. Imagine there's 5,000 people behind me, and all of them are 5'10", 5'10" tall, okay? You don't have to be some mythical legend to build a successful business that works, but you do have to be taller than 5'10". You have to do the things that almost no one's willing to do. So here's my experience. I get messages every day. I get dozens of messages from people every day. Hey, Josh, can you help me with this? Hey, Josh, do you have advice on this? And I love that. I love to help. But here's the problem. Is a large majority of people aren't willing to put in the work to go deep for themselves to achieve anything. They think that they can just learn one little nugget and then it will work. Or they push this magic button where you sprinkle some magic unicorn fairy dust down on your business and everything's fixed. It doesn't work like that. Information by itself isn't enough. You have to go deep on the little boring stuff. And one of the biggest things I've learned is that building a successful company means that you have to do a lot of really boring things that no one really recognizes. So it might be sexy to go power wash some hospital or do some huge job, and that's really cool and that's awesome. But the little things you do at night when you're hustling at midnight and no one sees it, and you're building a spreadsheet and you're measuring metrics and you're looking at your sales literature and you're listening to a podcast about copy and you're tweaking and you're calibrating these little micro things that no one else pays attention to, that's where the gold is. So back to direct mail. So people ask me all the time, it's really funny to me, it shocks me, but people say things like this. They say, hey Josh, does direct mail really work? Well, it's that's an unanswerable question. Because you can talk about radio or, God forbid, newspaper ads, but you could still make that work if you went deep enough on it and you figured it out. I just did a podcast with Michael Kaplan just last week. He does $20 million a year in carpet cleaning. They do radio ads. My biggest financial disaster ever, advertising-wise, when I had my service company, was radio ads. It didn't work for me, but it's because I didn't go deep on it. You got to understand, in your market, I'm passionate right now. Just had a campfire with my kids. You probably can't see it. My internet's horrible. But look, I didn't go deep on it. You have to understand it's the little itty bitty things that everybody else glosses over. That is where the gold is. So let me ask you about direct mail. How many variables are there with direct mail? First of all, what time of year are you sending the thing? What is your copy like? What is your design like? What does your call to action look like? What do you say? Who are you targeting, right? What's your offer? How many times are you touching them? Every one of those things, just off the top of my head, are specific things you need to put thought into. So you can't like do direct mail and be like, oh, that didn't work. Like that's irrational. It's illogical. It doesn't even make sense. And not just with direct mail, with anything like, oh yeah, I tried that. It didn't work. Bull crap. It didn't not work. You just don't know what you're doing. You have to go deep. You have to do the little micro calibrations. You got to figure it out. And the thing is, like I said in the beginning, you do not have to be a mythical business genius to make it work. All you have to do is do about this much more than everybody else in your market. If you do this much more, you will become a nightmare to compete with. You will crush people because people are lazy. They won't put in the work. They'll send out 300 cards and say, oh, that didn't work. But that's not you. You're going to say, okay, something with the design, the color scheme, maybe I'm using too many colors, the font I'm using, you can't read it easily, the offer has to be tweaked, the call to action has to be tweaked, the time of year that I'm sending it has to be tweaked, right? The people I'm targeting are the wrong people. You figure that out, everything changes, like literally everything. And this is with like digital advertising, whether you're doing Facebook ads or AdWords or any of that stuff. It's with your website. It's all of it. It's all the same thing. You have to pay attention to the details. You don't have to be a genius, but you have to like push pause for 2 seconds. Understand, first of all, that the universe owes you nothing. It owes me nothing. It owes nobody nothing. You have to actually be better. You have to learn this stuff, right? Am I crazy? Like, comment something. I'm going to go back and read them because I'm too in the zone right now to like read all the comments, but you have to actually be better. But the good news is that you don't have to be legendarily mythical. You just have to be a little bit better. In a sea of 5'10" people, if you're 6 feet tall, you stand out like a sore thumb. And in your market, people are horrible at everything. They don't answer their phone. They don't have a super high level of energy with a high level of perceived value when they answer their phone. They don't know how to sell with packages. They don't know how to actually articulate their offer. They don't know how to differentiate themselves into a blue ocean with their opportunity. They don't know how to be the $5 loaf of bread in a sea of $1 loaves of white bread. If you figure that out, you can have anything you want. You can write your own ticket, and not just in the cleaning business. If you're in the home service business, this works everywhere. It's the same thing. Like I do software now, but I clean windows and wash houses and I pressure wash things. Like I fought the good fight for a decade, and I learned this like, I don't want to say the hard way, but like just the normal way. If you're going to succeed, you have to do the stuff. You cannot get to step 6 until you've completed step 3, 4, and 5. You can't. There's no shortcut. It doesn't work. You can't just put an ad on Craigslist and pretend that you're some great leader and everybody should come work for you and be a rock star. You have to actually be better. But the good news is that you don't have to be mythical, okay? It's not like unattainable. You just have to slow down, push pause, and say, all right, what do I have to do to actually invest in people? How do I find and target the right types of employees? What do I offer them? Because you're a marketer, not just to get customers, but you're a marketer to your staff. Is this resonating with anybody? This is my 3rd attempt to do a Facebook Live because my internet's horrible. I live in the country. Look, I like to be really nice and positive and all that stuff, but a lot of you guys, you need to take responsibility. You need to put in the work. Yes, it's spring. Yes, it's been cold in the Midwest. It doesn't matter. Figure it out. You're competing against yourself and against a handful of local competitors that have no idea about any of the stuff I just said. Like, no one knows this stuff. No one. Apply it. Do it for real. Stop feeling sorry for yourself. You can do this. like everybody's 5'10". For you to be 6 foot tall in your market, you have to like answer the phone in 2 rings. Be super friendly, show up early, like do the right things, have a 3-step touch system for your technicians, like encourage your employees, do planned randomness, invest in them as humans, ask them what their goals are, like actually care about people. If there's an issue, run towards problems, not away from it. Keep good records, follow up with future opportunities, get organized if you're doing commercial sales, keep a data mining list of all the people you're targeting and work that list every 6 weeks. Don't run your business on emotion, run it on logic. invest in other people, play the long game. These are all like fundamental things. Like I didn't invent any of this stuff. On my podcast, like I do this podcast every single day. I'm doing it and I talk about all this stuff. I didn't invent like hardly any of the stuff I talk about. It's just I kind of repackage it from my own perspective, how I applied it. But only a small percentage of people take it and implement it in the dark when no one's cheering them on, when no one's giving them an attaboy, because you have to do that for a really long time to get extraordinary results. That's the way that it works. There's not a shortcut. Yes, I want to inspire you, but I also want to tell you the truth. You have to put in the work. You have to chop the wood. You have to chop the wood every single day. You have to actually be better. You don't get brownie points because you're a really nice person. You don't get brownie points for any reason. You have to make an offer and make a hook and present your offer in a way that's super compelling, packed full of perceived value to get a super high average ticket so that your profit margin is outrageously high so you can take a large part of that profit margin and plow it back into your scale, hire more people on the back end, inspire them and motivate them because you actually care. This has to all be authentic. And it's really hard and it's lonely. Being an entrepreneur can be very lonely. It feels like you're on an island, right? Because like your friends and family don't really understand you. They're like, hey, why don't you get a real job? Like, what do you do? You're still doing that cleaning thing, huh? Oh, interesting. You should get a real job. Are you kidding me? You're going to make $4 million with your cleaning job if you apply the stuff that we're talking about. Don't make excuses. There's no shortcut. If you're going to do Facebook or you're going to do direct mail, don't send a few hundred cards out and lie to yourself and say that it doesn't work. Figure it out. You're targeting the wrong people. You're sending it at the wrong time of year. You have the wrong call to action. Your design is horrible. You don't have the right offer. Like there's all these factors, these variables. They all have to be calibrated by, guess who? By you. You got this. In closing, I guess I'll say this. I want you to remember this. A whole bunch of people dumber than you, less talented than you, have already made it. Why haven't you made it? It has nothing to do with your brain and how smart you are and that you had a Harvard degree and that you had rich parents. It's about the implementation, the little micro calibrations, paying attention to details, and most importantly of all, it's having grit. Is chopping wood when you feel like garbage and it's dark and you have no motivation, but you pick up the thing and you chop the wood and you build the system, you measure the metric, you have no emotion attached to wanting to do it, but you do it anyway. If you have that, you can't lose. Have a good night.
Hey, thanks for hanging out, friends. And from all of us here at the Quick Talk Podcast team, we hope you loved today's show. We hope that you were inspired to become a doer and not just a listener. Apply what you've heard today in your own business and watch things change for the better. Lastly, remember that all the money in the world can't save your soul. Seek first the kingdom of God, my friends. We'll see you next time.
For more information about the Quick Talk Podcast or Joshua's other businesses, visit our website, quicktalkpodcast.com. Have a blessed day.